There are indeed. I mean, yeah, obviously the last one is the Leafeon deck that we just saw. So yeah, 3 Dragapult, one Leafeon, which also means that the other Zacian deck also got eliminated in top 8. So 2 made it to top 8, none made it to top 4. And also something that I also want to point out, which is kind of interesting, because normally when you see like mirror matches, especially in the current format, right, which is like a pretty boring format deck building wise, like there's not a lot of variety when you look at the most of the top decks. This is like those 2 players actually differ quite I mean, not a lot, right, because there's obviously not an infinite amount of deck variety, but it's interesting that one player decided to actually play the 70 HP Sobbles that we just talked about last game, right, which are in there for the mirror match, and so probably has an edge here. And as you can see, like, we are spectating the 70 HP Sobble Pan. The other one has 4 Crushing Hammer. So both can be cards that can definitely decide the matchup, right? I mean, here we see a hammer, here we see a hammerheads. That could already be game deciding, because this is a hammerheads. That's 1 energy attachment that you get rid of, and the only way that I'm pretty sure we're watching Victor, right?
Yes, we're watching Victor, correct?
Yes. The only way that Victor can get rid of energies is fan of the waves. Fan of waves. So obviously, like, this basic energy attachment on the other side is not able to get like rid of. So right now, this hammerhead's already, like, I would say, insane amount of impact, because you're taking away your attachment. There's no way to accelerate energies except Raihan. You got rid of the energy. You attached your energy, making yourself safe from energies being discarded. So, in my opinion, the Railton is already in an insane spot, in my opinion, because the format is so quick. A lot of games are decided by like 3 to 4 turns, and the hammerheads, especially in the mirror match, is so huge most of the time. And yeah, we saw hammerheads, so let's see if Victor is able to recover from that hammerheads.
That's correct. Well, one player plays hammers, flipping heads for now. The other player doesn't play hammers. In a complicated spot right now because that heads. And yep, it's interesting, Nico, how the last GGtoor tournament we cast 1 month ago, it was 3 single strike in top cut, I guess, or something like that. And now we have like 3 Dragapult in top 4 with 1 Leafeon trying to beat all the Dragapults in this top. So it looks like Dragapult is in a good spot in this meta right now. And yeah, it's interesting how the player who plays hammers plays the 60 HP Sobble, and the other player plays the 70 with no hammers. The format is so fast, so hammers matters a lot. But even with the format, being like super fast and 2-3 turns or money for the brick, decide the game sometimes, still open a room for potential, changes. Like, all right, some players decided to play hammers, others not. Some players prefer to decide to play the Sobble 70, the other not. And yeah, that's actually interesting how players manage to build their own decks depending on the meta gain, some factors, or just feeling lucky with the hammer. So even if Victor won the coin flip, hammer turn 1, energy attachment from the opponent, from Railton, decided probably the matchup right now, because that's a huge advantage for Railton now. After 1 hammer, even going second, changed a lot, because Dragapult needs 2 manual attachment to attack. And yeah, right now Railton in an insane spot thanks to the Max Phantom taking the first prize into the Zigzagoon and putting 10 damage into Drizzle for later. So you just need to hit 2 Max Force plus 1 2 Max Phantom, sorry, will have Dragapult will be at 60 HP remaining. So thanks to 1 Max Phantom plus some shadow dealings, quick shootings, is gonna be definitely a big knockout into the Dragapult VMAX. So for now, Victor trying to, should I bench the Sable? Should I not? Probably gonna bench the Sable and research and try to find another Dragapult for the mid game, because this Dragapult is already with 130 damage. So that's like the research. Deciding to not bench a Sobel is definitely really interesting because probably he's thinking the price actually matters a lot in this board, but with one Dragon Ball VMAX that's probably gonna be knocked out soon, the opening is gonna be at 2 prices, and you already have Inteleon and Drizzle in play, so that's actually the complete 5 prices. So I will probably bench that Sobel before the research, but well, I'm sure that Victor has some reasons to not do it, and no need to bench a Dragapult yet because Dragapult is gonna survive at least one extra turn. And well, that's actually the first prize for Victor, trying to come back in the game with this Horror Energy and Max Phantom between in the opponent Dragapult. And taking a Fog Crystal, that's a fan of the waves card, putting the Horror Energy into the deck, into the bottom of the deck, and hopefully no more Crashing Hammer against Victor, right?
Yeah, I mean, but there we see another one. Thankfully, it tells this time, so still in the 50-50 range for now. And yeah, I mean, energy attachments are just so important. But as you said, right, like the Dragapult wouldn't be able to get KO'd anyways next turn, so there's like literally zero reason to put on a Dragapult because the only thing that would do would allow your opponent to just place 5 damage counters on that for free, right? And that's definitely not what you want. But yeah, I mean, it's rough, and something that's also super interesting to point out now that we've reached the point where Zigzagoon has entered the discard pile, right, and Inteleon is in play anyways. From this point onwards, the 60 HP Sobel doesn't even matter anymore because 60 and 70 from Railton's side of view would be exactly the same because there's nothing that does 10 damage to it, but there's still something that does 20, right? And that would still be enough anyways. Obviously, that's like 1 damage counter that can be placed somewhere else, but usually that 1 damage counter doesn't really matter. So that's kind of interesting that, yeah, the hammers have done their job, and so far the 70 HP Sobels haven't. So maybe the plan for the mirror is just to play Crushing Hammer. Maybe that's the way how you have to approach the mirror. I mean, it sucks to say, but I mean, based on last season, that wouldn't be the first time that happens.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right? Like the best way to win could be a potential RNG card that depends on the day you flip heads or tails. And but right now it's actually giving advantage to Railton because Victor already lost 1 basic energy because of the hammer and 1 special energy because of the fan. So like you said, right now in this matchup, 70 or 60 doesn't matter at all because 5 damage counters from Max Phantom plus quick shooting is actually a knockout into the Sobel. So, well, it's not relevant in this matchup, and that's actually Max Phantom again trying to take 3 prizes from Victor at least next turn, and looks like Railton just needs to attacks, KO the Drizzle probably, and pressure the Inteleon. And everything that Railton needs to win is a boss the Inteleon to win the game, if no nets, if no anything. So probably Victor needs to find the right hand to try to attack with Dragon Ball VMAX next turn with that extra energy that right hand allows you to put in the field. So well, looks a really good spot for Railton because he's gonna take the first big prize against Dragapult. And yeah, Dragapult probably in a really good spot in this tournament because maybe dark decks that hit for weakness like Eternatus are not too popular, right? Because if not, Dragapult maybe won't be three spots in top 4, right, Nico? If more Eternatus or more dark decks will be popular.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, usually Umbreon Urshifu is something that can somewhat still deal with it, right? Because you still have Umbreon that deals for damage. But if you take a look at the like 6, 7 most played decks, it's like you have Umbreon Urshifu, obviously, but then you have Dragapult, you have Suicune, you have Urshifu, which obviously Dragapult even hits for weakness, Leafeon, Sylveon, and Jolteon. So it's like nothing that really like hits Dragapult for weakness except the Single Strike, and Single Strike is only, I mean, it's the number 1 deck, right? But it's still only 33 players. So if you don't face a lot of them, you basically have no really bad matchups. I mean, there's 1 Eternatus in the entire tournament. So obviously you weren't going to face that ever, or like it's very unlikely. But yeah, something that actually can happen this turn though is if there's a top deck Ryan. No, actually no, it's not even possible anymore because there's like no Sobble in play. But with Sobble in play, we could have potentially seen 2 Fan of Waves, get rid of all the specialties on the bench, and a KO active, which still would have put Victor in a spot where he could have won, but now it's like the opponent can attack for sure, so it's like, and you don't even have a Ryan, so you can only attack with Bite, so you're taking with Shred. So yeah, you're taking the KO active, but you're not setting up anything else on the bench. So in the long run, you're still just gonna lose because there's only one prize left for your opponent. They can even like boss the Inteleon, sharp shooting the Inteleon and just one hit KO it. So it's like it's definitely just a very, very rough spot here for Victor. And yeah, we'll just see how strong energy removal is. I mean, 0 energies in play to 4 energies in play, right? Like 1 KO plus a Hammerheads was able, and 1 Fan of Waves as well, right? Was just able to put the board in such a spot where it's so hard for Victor to even do anything. I mean, yeah, he takes a KO here, but where do you go from there? That's the question.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, trying to just stall a bit, one turn, hitting for 60, because I will probably just take a prize, but because I guess Railton has a lot of ways to retreat as Inteleon. Just evolving the Sobble. And well, let's see if actually, Railton needs to win in 2 turns right now because Inteleon has 150 damage. So the escape rope, and
that's gonna be it.
Yeah, Victor knows that's enough for now. And yeah, exactly. Sorry, that's the quick shooting plus. Yeah, I said boss, but the escape rope also works. And there's Max Phantom for game. It's interesting how Victor, even going first, couldn't do anything this game, just because one Hammerheads.
That's essentially where the game gets decided. Like who's able to attack more consistent with Max Phantom, who's able to set up KOs, who's able to take multiple prizes in a turn. And last game, the answer was Railton, and from how this hand looks like, it could end up in a similar spot because right now there's not even an energy attachment for Victor.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. Well, there we go.
There we go.
Oh. well, that means, that's kind of hype that Crashing Hammer of Fan of the Waves could appear turn 1. But yeah, actually Victor in a really good spot with this hand if no Hammerheads or no Fan, because again, not win the coin flip but decided to go first. What is nice, what is enough. And yeah, just Dragapult, energy, no need to do anything more. Pass probably, well, maybe Net decided to just pass. And well, I mean, this game is gonna be like that, right? Energy pass, Crashing Hammerheads, and also the path to the peak. Probably not too relevant in this mirror match, but well, that's actually nice for Victor that this energy is still in play, so we can actually see at least a better match with no Hammerheads for both players. So research with no Fog Crystal, I guess decided to not play the second Fog Crystal. Not sure. But yeah, that's actually second Sobble, Crashing Hammer. Still Tails. What is nice. Yeah, there's a second Fog Crystal in the discard pile. That's actually interesting. Not sure why Railton didn't went for the second Dragapult at least to thin the deck. Not 100% sure why, but well, there's actually a Drizzle evolving, probably looking for a Fog Crystal for an energy, and thanks to that, both Hammers, Tails. Victor is finally be able to max Phantom turn 2, and well, probably gonna research, trying to look for a better setup. So yeah, definitely guaranteed the energy with the Fog Crystal, and probably just gonna scoop up Net, bench the Sobble, and research. That's actually Dragapult VMAX in play. Is gonna be the first that hits the opponent board position, and that's a research. But yeah, looking for a potential more Sobbles or Dragapult. That's a really good hand with a level ball. Second Sobble, there is 2 Sobble prize, looks like. What is kind of
Drizzle as well, which is
that's kind of unfortunate.
Which can be very rough.
Oh no,
no,
the
actually, it's
four
not digital,
drizzle,
right?
yeah, exactly. The four drizzle
Yeah,
is
there's 25 different artworks. That's
correct.
why.
So it's in the discard pile. But Nico, look at this. Thanks to the Sobel 60, right now it's relevant because it's gonna take the first prize, right?
Yeah, and I mean, now it's like this is exactly the spot that we were talking about last game, right? Like, this is exactly where now all of the sudden, list wise, Victor has like an insane advantage. You're the first person to attack. Hammers were all flip tails. You were able to pick up the Sobbles because they are only 60 HP. And so, like, in my opinion, it's pretty cool, right? Because so far in 2 games, we've seen the advantage of each list, which is kind of cool. But the dangerous part for Victor here is like, I mean, obviously this game is still not decided, right? But I'm just gonna go so far to say I'm pretty sure that Victor's gonna win this one, just based on how this game looks. The interesting part is next game, Railton will be able to go first and has Hammer in the deck. And that's where things get really, really rough for Victor, because if your opponent, like, you can't deny your opponent's energy attachments, your opponent gets the advantage by going first and has hammers. So next turn, like next game could be like super, super rough for Victor, but for now, this game, able to execute the strategy, able to make use of the advantage that the 70 HP Sovel plus the added consistency gives, right? Because obviously the hammers were cut for cards that are not basically useless if they flip tails, right? So you actually have cards that you can always use in every game, which is definitely something nice to have if you expect some coin flips to be tails. So yeah, I mean, I'm really liking how this is playing out so far, and interestingly enough, Victor didn't decide to go for like a Zigzagoon net here. Or actually decides to go for the boss. That's also obviously a viable play because you still put your opponent into 2-hit KO range because you were able to hit into it multiple times already. So yeah, I mean, insanely good spot for Victor right here.
Yeah, exactly. I guess you were talking about this before. Just the hammer tails change the games completely. If that hammers will be heads, probably will be saying, yeah, the spot is definitely way different because Victor cannot attack on 2 with a max phantom, and Railton will be the first who attacks. So that's crazy how in this format one card that you cannot control if it's heads or tails just change the game completely, because it's not like formats before that the games were like really long. So if even if you have a bad turn, you can actually come back because people play decks that evolve. Even in stage 2, the maximum damage was not a lot. That nothing, one hit or nothing, or kinda. And now it's like one hammer changed completely the game in one way or the other. So yeah, and it's a card that you cannot control. If if the day is with you, you will flip heads against the opponent. If not, maybe the opponent will hit the hammer against you. So that's actually Victor thinking about which Inteleon evolve, because both has a lot of advantage. One quick shooting for the rest of the game will be so nice to hit better numbers, but also the shadow dealings definitely helps to take 2 good cards from the deck. And yeah, decided to definitely go for the search for 2 trainers. Let's see what the Victor is thinking. Let's see what Victor is deciding to go. Evolution Instance for sure. And the second card is kind of complicated to choose. Probably deciding to just go level and fog crystal. That's also nice. Good pick from this intelligent ability. Level ball. Going for the shiny drizzle. Gonna evolve and take another trainer. That's amazing how the intelligent line works sometimes, because you just take the card you want every single turn. And yeah, Evolution Instance, probably going for Dragapult VMAX. There we go. Saving the other Dragapult VMAX in the bench. Fog Crystal for the last basic energy. And there's gonna be a max Phantom in the fresh Dragapult. And the Marnie, let's see. Yep, Marnie giving 4 cards to the opponent plus the top deck. That will be 5. But yeah, Marnie hitting the Fan of Waves. Let's see if Victor decided to play it. There we go. And that's putting Railton in a complicated spot that, both Dragapults are damaged. So you need to decide which Dragapult you attack with. because the active also needs to evolve, right, Nico? So maybe Victor in a better spot than game 1 for sure.
Something that's very interesting here, if you think about it, right? Because Victor is at Railton is at 6 prizes, and we know he has Zigzagoon. So this position is actually very, very risky from Victor, right? Because 2 Zigzagoon pings could actually win the game. Because you ping once this turn, you ping the benched one. You attack with your active one, you hit 130 into active, 50 on bench, you net the Zigzagoon on the same turn. Your opponent can't take 4 prizes. And the next turn, this active Dragapult that has 50 right now actually gets KO'd by the second Zigzagoon ping. So, in my opinion, putting the other Dragapult to the bench is actually a pretty big misplay from Victor's side here, because your opponent can take 6 prizes next turn. Like, with this board, you can't win, but your opponent can actually. And that's a spot that you never want to put yourself in, because next turn, one Zigzagoon, or like a boss, or like some combination of like those pings, is actually able to win the game here for Railton. Because you put your Dragapult that only had 60 left back to the bench. So I feel like Victor should have definitely attacked with the heavily damaged one last turn to force the opponent to hit with the 130 from X Phantom into the active one that only has 60 left anyways. Because that's usually how you win those like spread or snipe matchups, by forcing your opponent to put damage counters into a Pokemon that they basically disappear, right? Because let's say you have an attack that says, okay, I put I attack for 200 onto active, right? You obviously usually want to get the most out of your damage. So yeah, I feel like this was a misplay from Victor here, but could remain unpunished. But one Zigzagoon actually wins the game if he doesn't retreat, and if he retreats, then Zigzagoon plus boss plus energy wins the game. Obviously, that's a lot of cards, but I feel like he didn't have to put himself into a spot where he could actually lose next turn.
Yeah, that's completely correct, because I was actually checking the board state. I thought Victor played well with that strategy, but I guess in the mirror match like this, the worst spot is to do what you said. You just need to do that the opponent do the less damage possible. So you just give the Dragapult with less HP to the active, right? Instead of putting it to the bench. It's kind of strange, because it's normally way different in other matchups. You try to save your prices, but in this matchup, it's just way better to just give 3 prices, right? Because then the match works better, because then the opponent needs 1 extra turn to win. Now, like you said, Railton can win this turn if it's an energy and a boss, right?
I mean, for now, he also still needs like a Zigzagoon, right? Like, he still needs the net.
Net and boss,
Because
right? Net, boss, and energy, yeah.
Yeah, net boss energy.
But yeah, it's interesting
But
how
I mean, but we need to keep in mind, right? Like, there's also still crushing hammers.
there
Is
is
there the
4
net?
hammer tails. Yeah.
Yes, there's the net. If there's an energy, that's game.
Wow. No way, what a comeback with no drizzles. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's 100% on Victor here. Like, he had the game. He had the game basically on lock. Decided to go for the conventional play, which a lot of people often do just because they used to do it. But sometimes you actually just have to give your opponent the KO to not make things worse. And yeah,